Hello everyone. Nuie here. So 3.3 is coming quickly upon us. I think we're about 20 something hours out right now. So I was gonna drop a couple of my possible league starters. Well, actually, I have to say all three of my league starters, and what I'm planning to do with them. So the way I'm looking right now, I'm definitely gonna be playing a trap build. I've set up for lightning traps. I've set up for the new earthquake traps, and then I've set up for RF vortex. So the way the new traps seem to work is that they require some duration increases, and then they stay around and do quite a bit of damage while they're around, but they don't exactly look the most efficient for pack clearing. So as far as my two builds that are going to use that, which are my lightning trap build and my poison build, I've set those up to be kind of dual trap builds. So I'm gonna have an area clear, and then I'm gonna have the stronger totems for like bolting and stuff like that. So that's how they're set up. So hopping into the first one, this is just a lightning trap build. Again, I don't have all the trap skills are not actually in here yet. Yeah, they aren't updated in POB yet. So I can't actually add those, so I just have the word trap right now. But yeah, so the first build I'm working on is a Shimmeron's build. For AoE clear, I plan on using trap with Shock Nova. So that'll be my AoE clear, and then as far as single target, I'll use Shock Nova combined with the new lightning trap. So basically the skill tree plans out, and because of the new changes to the shadow tree and all of these new trap nodes here and the newer trap nodes here, it's easier to grab all of these increases to the amount of traps you can have in your tree and still have a pretty easily planned out tree. I used to have to come all the way down here, and the trap node used to be down here, so the shifting it from here to here is very nice. They've also increased the basic amount from the nodes, I guess you can say. They increased that a bit, and then they've added some extra crit and extra stuff like that, just for basically ease of damage and damage scaling for traps. So this is going to be a hybrid build for me. I gave it about 95% life, and then I have 110% increased energy shield, so it's pretty much a hybrid build and everything with that. So I'll have life, I'll have energy shield. I was gonna do originally with this build, I was gonna go towards being an evasion converted to energy shield type build, but I didn't really end up liking that too much, and I couldn't really find a comfortable way to do it. So instead, I just went with the hybrid build. So I grabbed some life, I grabbed some energy shield. I've grabbed plenty of evasion. I've grabbed phase dodging. I've got the increased cold, maximum cold resistance. I have capped lightning res from the build. You need about five fire res and 5 cold res overall from the rest of your items, and I don't use a huge amount of unique, so it's actually not going to be difficult to get. So a lot of our damage scaling comes from our trap damage, a lot of trap damage, power charges, and then basically spell damage. So we use a huge amount of trap damage, we're using some crit, and then we're going to use a lot of lightning damage and spell damage. And then we're also using the saboteur node, so we're going to gain the increased area effect, increased area damage, and then a lot of elemental pen, because we'll get 10% elemental pen from here. And then we'll also get an extra 10% elemental pen from here. So our traps are going to do a lot of penetration damage that's not really being shown. But yeah, we'll get through plenty of that. And we'll also be able to gain power charges as well as frenzy charges from this node right here. Grants us power charges when our traps are triggered by an enemy. And then this node right here, Blast Cascade, will grant us power charges when an app is triggered by an enemy. So we'll have 6 6 power charges and 5 frenzy or 4 frenzy charges is what it's look like. Yeah, we have a really nice balance of damage and stuff. We're a little bit lacking on strength, but we have plenty of ways to get that. So heading into the skills again, it's probably gonna be trap support with Shock Nova, Trap Mind Damage, Cluster Traps. Our auras are going to be Wrath with Blasphemy and Conductivity. We're going to get shocked around from our helm. I'll talk about items in a second. We'll be using a Lightning Golem just for increased cast speed, because cast speed increases the damage of the new lightning trap, or the what am I thinking? The duration of when the shocks actually go off with the new lightning traps. So we're going to use that. We're going to use Lightning Warp just because, you know, lightning based skill, why not use Lightning Warp, whatever. And then I'll have a Mortal Call, cast when damage taken set up, as well as I'll probably add Tempest Shield to it just because why not. I don't currently have this set up, so as soon as the new gems come in and everything with that, I'll show you guys what my setup will be for that, and I'll probably do that in game when I get to it. So yeah, for now I don't have that because I just don't have the skill to run for that in Path of Building yet. Lastly, heading into items, probably going to do a Shimmerons. I want to do dual Shimmerons for this build, because we're using traps. We get to annoy the 400 lightning damage taken per second per tower charge if you dealt a critical strike. But what Shimmerons really does for us is it gives us a lot of spell damage, and it also gives us a huge amount of lightning damage to spells. It also gives us more added lightning damage to spells per power charge, so because we're running 6 power charges, we're going to get a nice amount, probably about, we get anywhere between 18 and 50 lightning damage to spells, so it's pretty nice. And then we'll get 2 of those, so it's about 100. And then we'll be using Yifflebanes. This gives us shock the ground when hit, as well as lightning damage to spells. It also gives us 100%. It actually gives us a nice lightning res for that. And then we'll be using a Tinker Skin. Tinker Skin is just really good for trapping. Gives us some extra chance to generate frenzy charges. Gives us some phasing chance. Helps us recover some life whenever our trap is triggered, and helps us recover some energy shield whenever our trap is triggered. So it's nice for our build. It's really, really nice. Again, this thought just came to my mind. In my last build, somebody questioned why I have these items. I don't actually like plan out these items because I'm not fully certain on what I would get. I have a somewhat idea of what I would like to get, but I don't have like a full planned out idea, and I just don't feel like going through the energy of crafting items. So I usually just have like the basic item here, just, you know, to show what kind of item I'm looking for. So that's what is going to be here, is just, you know, evasion, energy shield, grab an Amberlet or something like that. Just something with strength is basically what I'm saying, because you're missing a little bit of strength, so you need something with strength. A ruby ring and a sapphire ring. Again, these are just because the build itself standalone does not have enough fire resistance or cold resistance, so this is just what you need. But you don't need to run a ruby ring and a sapphire ring. You could easily run dual stone rings and whatever. It's just whatever you get. I'm just saying what you need. The last thing, the last unique I'm taking is Ascent from Flesh. It gives me elemental resistance. It also gives me increased dodge attack, as well as movement speed while I'm phasing. So I have plenty of chances to get phasing in this build, so it should be fun with that. It also gives me a nice amount of flat evasion rating, so it's just a nice build. As far as Shock Nova, I have quite a bit of damage numbers here, but until I actually get into play and actually see how it runs, I'm not totally sure about that whole damage, because I don't have any of my gems actually input here. I just, you know, gave us plenty of room for gems. I didn't actually input any of them, so they're there. But there are definitely spots for it, and definitely I've taken 5 of them, so that's plenty. But yeah, this is the first of my planned out builds. The next one I'm going to talk about is my Earthquake one. Or it's not really Earthquake, but it's basically Earthquake. So what I'm planning on doing is running this with a poison scaling. It basically does physical damage, and then it does poison damage. I'm going to basically scale all the physical damage to poison damage over time. So the initial hits will hit, and then I'll have the poison damage afterwards to take care of most mobs. Again, for single target I'll use the new trap skill, and then for AoE I'll use my I'm planning on using Bladefall. I'll use Bladefall in my trap setup, so I'll have Bladefall, and that'll come down and do physical damage, and then it'll do poison as well. Since Bladefall always scales physical damage, it's fine. It works perfectly with this build. So I just take all the physical damage nodes, some extra cat speed. This is just a life-based build, life and evasion. So there's nothing really unique about it. I do take phase dodging. I take plenty of damage nodes from poison. And I take plenty of, just basic dodge chance, some extra life, some extra resist, and then a couple unique items that are very necessary for this build. So as far as this right now, I don't have the actual trap set up, so I can't really talk about it yet. I will talk about that as soon as that's actually updated. But I'm probably going to use Temp Chains, Despair, and Blasphemy for this build. I'll probably use Flame Dash with this build because I want to go with a Spell Wand. I don't have any uniques that are really useful excessively for this build, so I'll probably just go with a Spell Wand, which means I'll probably use Flame Dash, cast 1 damage taken setup, and simple stuff. Heading into items, the items I'm planning on using are a Dendrobats. This gives me increased poison for increased poison damage with at least 300 dexterity, and the 20% increased poison duration with at least 150 intelligence. So this is what we're going to need to get, is the dexterity is built into the tree. The intelligence is what we'll need to get from items and stuff, which again is not really an issue. We only need to cut a little bit of, as you can see, we have 50 set. We have even reses throughout the entire build, so all we really need is just some basic res from all this gear. We have plenty of slots for it, so we should be fine. I'm going to be running a Deerstalkers just because it gives me a free trap support, and then I can run some extra stuff. So that's our blade full setup. Will be that on our boots, and then we'll put the other totem onto another trap skill, the new trap skill, onto the lesser poison on our Dendrobats. So that'll be our setup there. The other item we'll need is a Malgar's Cruelty. This gives us increased max life. It also gives us Frenzy Charge and Power Charge generation, as well as increased damage with poison per Frenzy Charge, as well as increased damage with poison per Power Charge. And then we're going to be using Deodri's Diamond Ring because we need to be able. I want to run dual curses for this, and there's no other way for me to get it realistically. And then the last uniques we'll need is a Coated Shrapnel. I'm going to use 2 of them because this will give me the chance to poison on hit at 50%, and then with the Dendrobats level 10 lesser poison, that automatically gives us 90%, so we should have no issues. And I'll just put lesser poison on this as well, which is why I'm using Dealstalker, so I already have the trap skill. And then I'll have lesser poison from that, and I'll have 90%. That's pretty much enough. It pretty much guarantees us poison. As far as ascendancy, I didn't talk about before. We're going to be using Alira for our bandit, and then Swift Killer, Patience Reaper, and Prolonged Pain. If you actually do Uberlab for this, I don't actually have Uberlab built into this, but if you do Uberlab, you can just grab the extra damage over time from here and here. Or you can grab Weave of the Arcane and get some extra mana and extra attack and cast speed. But I don't particularly have that involved, so it's not a huge issue for me. This build's damage sources are scaled around poison, physical damage, as well as chaos damage and trap damage. We have plenty of increased poison damage overall, we have plenty of increases to trap damage, and we have quite a few frenzy charges, which also gives us plenty of poison damage thanks to Malgar's Cruelty. So as you can see, a lot of this damage is going to be based off of not so much the initial hit, but a lot of our poison scaling over time. So that's how I'm planning out this build, and everything that's involved with that. And then the last build idea, I guess I can say, is the RF Vortex Trapper. This build's a little bit different. It's not based on any of the new trap skills. It's basically just trapping itself. So this build is an RF build that takes use of Vortex, because I wanted to play Vortex for a while, and I didn't really have sufficient ways to think of playing it. So now that I do, I want to run it as an trapper build, so it makes it pretty easy. Using Shadow's Trickster, again, we're using the same ascendancy, so Swift Killer, we're using Alira again, and then we're using Patient Reaper and Prolonged Pain. Prolonged Pain is great for RF because it gives us that reduced damage over time, as well as giving increased skill effect, which is really nice for our build in general for these skills, because Vortex leaves damage over time, and then RF is already damage over time, so we're going to have plenty of damage over time. This also gives us the increased life, 2% life regained on kill by damage over time. Since all our abilities do damage over time, we're really good for that. But yeah, we're just going to start here, and we're going to head through the new damage nodes. I didn't take trap damage, I took elemental damage instead, because I wanted to make sure that RF still does a decent amount of damage as well, so taking the elemental damage over the trap damage. We'll still grab trap damage later, but we also want to balance it out with some elemental damage. This is life. It's going to be a life-based build. I did include 4 jewel sockets for life at 172%. Mainly because of what I was going for. So we're just going to do, if you're just looking for jewel sockets, you're really looking for added life, added area damage, added life regen, or just flat life and things like that, and that's what you're looking for as far as jewels. You also can just go with area damage, cold damage, damage over time, fire damage. Any of those will also be really useful for this build. Any of those will go well in this. So you're going to head through here. You're going to grab the new saboteur node. This used to be over here. They switched it around now, so it's over here. This is a quick, easy way to get extra traps. You can get this really early, and it's really nice amount of trap damage as well. We're going to use clever construction as well as high explosive because we want to get through. This is a damage pen for our traps. This new node over here, Master Sapper, is really useful too. It gives us 2 additional traps, so we'll have 5 total up traps times for our vortex traps, so that'll be nice. I am running phase acrobatics. I'm not running arrow dodging on this build, so it's just phase acrobatics and acrobatics on this build. We're scaling off of frenzy charges, so we'll have 4 total frenzy charges, or 4 total power charges, 5 total frenzy charges. Actually, no, 6 frenzy charges, 5 power charges. 4 or 5 power charges. Not sure. Hold on. 4 power charges, 6 frenzy charges. There we go. That's what I'm thinking. So that's where we'll get a lot of our damage. Thanks to this node right here, Swift Killer gives us 5% increased damage per frenzy charge and 5% increased damage per power charge. Because we have 10, we'll have 50% increased damage as long as our charges are up, and we'll get charges for every time we kill something, so it's no big deal to get those charges. Again, this is an evasion based build. It's evasion life, so plenty of evasion built in the tree, plenty of life built in the tree, phase dodging, stuff like that. We made sure to cap our reses and cap our fire reses. We'll have 1% increased cold res and 1% increased maximum fire res, thanks to barbarism and survivalists. And then we'll have pretty decent life regen from the tree, but you can definitely add some more. We need to cap cold and lightning res, but that's, other than that, fire res will be capped. That's no issue at all. As far as our buffs, we're gonna run Despair, Elemental Weakness, Purity of Fire, and Enlighten. I need the Enlighten just for extra mana. You don't actually need the Enlighten, but I probably will get it just because it gives me extra mana and gives me more room to work with. And then we're gonna run Righteous Fire, as well as increased burning area effect and then burning damage. We'll run Shield Charge with faster attacks and Fortify. And then we'll run a Mortal Call and our cast with damage taken. And then lastly, I'll run Trap and Vortex, and this will be our main damage setup. And then we'll use a Stone Golem. I'm also thinking of using the other new traps. I think it's Sapping or Siphoning Trap. I'm planning on using that too on our boots. Just because it gives us extra life regen, as well as it's damage over time cold, so it'll proc our elemental equipment really as well. which is why we're using RF in combination with Vortex, because that gives us we can literally just stand on top of the boss and we'll proc the elemental equilibrium just from using our traps. So it'll be really nice for that. As far as items, unique items, I want to use a Noctile's Lantern. It just gives me plus to fire damage. Fire Pen increases additional fire damage to my socketed gems. It also gives me spell damage, so it's great for that. And then it gives me life for enemies hit by attacks, so it's just a nice one for that. We'll be using Rise of Phoenix in this build. It gives me the maximum fire res plus, as well as giving me life regen. So it's just great for that. I'm going to be using a Heretic's Veil. This gives me a dual curse. Our dual curse on a free blasphemy setup with reduced mana reservation, which allows us to be able to run Purity of Fire as well with it. We'll be using a Tinker Skin. This gives us a lot of life regen, as well as extra frenzy charged generation. The reason we need this is because every time we will throw our traps and our traps will be triggered by an enemy, we'll get 100 life recovered, so that just helps us sustain our righteous fire easier. And then I just have extra evasion boots, extra evasion gloves, whatever, various stuff. And then we're gonna need a little bit of intelligence, so I'm running a lapis amulet. Again, you don't have to use a lapis amulet, you just use something that gives you intelligence to be able to balance out the tree that we'll need for it. And then again, we're using another Doedre's Damning Paw Ring because we need the dual curse ability from it. And then I have a new 2-stone ring, just cold and lightning res, just because, you know, it doesn't actually, this is actually not like a crafted ring, it's just I need cold and light res, and I'm telling you that because that's what you need in the build. And then lastly, I just have a leather belt. You can run whatever belt you want. It's just gives you maximum life. It's just extra life, so it's flat life. It's just what I'm looking for with the RF belt. The only unique flask I'm taking this is the Witchfire's Brew, so that's what I'm looking at. You do have 4 sockets, so it's pretty nice for that. But yeah, these are the 3 builds. I'm not really sure which one I'm going to choose yet. I'll probably play all of them throughout the duration of the new league, but I'm pretty excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. Again, Incursion comes out tomorrow, so pretty hyped for it. Really excited. I'll see you guys all later. Nuie out.